Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another coffee conversation. I am so excited, as always, to be with you guys today. Let me know in the comments if you can see me, if you can hear me, where in the world you're watching from, and what you're drinking. Let me mute that. There we go. Okay. Hello, hello. Beautiful. Hi, Lee. So wonderful to see you here. Oh, I am so excited to have all of you here with us. I do need to change my name though, because I am not Christine. So let's do that really quick. Hopefully everyone here knows me. I am Isabel Wells. You guys probably know me as Izzy, and I'm going to be your host for today. We're going to be doing something a little bit different for today's coffee conversation. Christine is under the weather with a bit of a cold, so I'm sure any healing energy sent her way would be very much appreciated. But for today, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be hosting this coffee conversation solo, which is going to be really exciting. It'll be the first time I am interacting with you guys one-on-one in one of these coffee conversations. We're also going to be having a little bit of a slideshow presentation happening today, because we are going over an introduction to the chakras, or as I have affectionately been calling it, chakras for dummies. So if you are excited for today's coffee conversation, let me know in the comments which chakra you're most excited to learn about, what your favorite thing is about the chakras, anything like that. I would love to hear from you guys and interact with you guys during this conversation today. So be sure to use that chat box. I am currently drinking a homemade mocha out of my A Good Cup of Reiki mug that we have here at Reiki Cafe. If you haven't been in the loop on our emails, you might not have seen that we did just release a whole new string of merchandise options, from additional t-shirts, including V-necks, a water bottle, more mugs, and lots of really wonderful things. So if you are interested in getting a bit of Reiki Cafe University merchandise, Reiki themed merchandise, chakra themed merchandise, spiritual themed merchandise, definitely check out our Reiki Cafe University Etsy shop. Yes, Lisa, there's nothing like flying solo for the first time. Definitely not my first time flying solo with the university, but my first time flying solo on a coffee conversation. So I'm really excited to be with you guys one-on-one today. Like I said, feel free to use the chat, feel free to interact. Today, we're going to be going over an introduction to the chakras, because starting tomorrow, June 1st, June will be our month of chakras. In June, we're going to be going into everything chakra related, how they connect to your Reiki practice, getting a basic foundation of the chakras, demystifying some of the myths around chakras, and looking at what about our chakra knowledge comes from modernized Western culture and what have we brought over from the traditional views of the chakras. Lots of really amazing chakra information happening here this month in June. So be sure to check out all of our amazing events. I'll share some more about how you can connect with us and learn more about the chakras this month at the end of this conversation. But for now, just know that today's coffee conversation, is really here to give you a very basic tip of the iceberg understanding about the chakras. This isn't going to be diving deep into the philosophy of them or the psychology of them or things like that. We'll go into those deeper throughout the month. Today is really just, as the title suggests, a very basic introduction to the chakras, so that we can start off our chakra month with a foundational knowledge and a very solid base from which to build up for the rest of the month. So if you are excited about this, let me know in the comments. And until then, we'll go ahead and get started. So like I mentioned, we're doing today's coffee conversation a little bit different. I do have a bit of a slideshow presentation for you. So this is going to be a fantastic conversation. If you want to grab a notebook, grab a pencil, pull up a Word document on your computer, however you want to take notes, hopefully you'll have some good opportunities to do so today. So let's go ahead and get started. I am going to go ahead and share my screen here. So let me pull everything up really quickly, and then I'll have you guys let me know in the chat. Let's see here. Share my screen. Okay, can you let me know in the chat if you can see this Canva screen, and I'm going to switch over to my YouTube so that we can take a look and see what's what here. I know there's a bit of a delay. Beautiful. Okay, it does look like you guys can see that. Fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and present this. Amazing. And I'm going to pull up my camera so that you guys can see. Beautiful. So welcome. Like I was saying, to our introduction to the chakras, or our Chakras for Dummies presentation. Someone suggested the other day in our Reiki Cafe community Facebook group that I do a Reiki for Dummies presentation. And it just got me so excited to do a series of these introduction to the chakras, introduction to Reiki, introduction to type coffee conversations. And so this is the first one of those. Please do not take offense when I say Chakras for Dummies. I say it lovingly, as in we're going to be diving into the basics of the material today. So welcome to Introduction to the Chakras. So today we're going to be discussing, like I said, the very basics of the chakras, the tip of the iceberg content about what the chakras are, how we can understand them, and what are the main points to know about the chakras, so that then as we dive deeper throughout the month, we'll have a really great base to start from. So we'll talk about things like what the chakras are and where they are. We'll go over the physical and emotional connections that each chakra has in the body. We'll talk about how the chakras are the map to healing. We may even mention little bits of things about chakra and age development, but those topics will also dive even deeper in our workshops later this month that I'll talk about more at the end. And then we'll also do little sneak peek previews of each one of the chakras. So make sure that you have a notebook or a journal, and we'll go ahead and get started with this conversation. So I think it's really important to start with defining what are the chakras, because these are things that, whether you are viewing them from a traditional perspective of the Hindu culture and the Hindu religions that bring in knowledge about the chakras, or you're viewing them from this kind of new age spiritual perspective, there are very many. There are a lot of opinions and ideas and teachings and lessons that we can learn about the chakras. And so what we're going to look at is, when we kind of boil all of these down, when we take the main ideas that the religions and the spiritual theories and all of this really bring together about the chakras, what are the main points? And so when we think about the chakras, we commonly are taught that there are 7, and that they start at the root and go up to the crown. But chakras are energy centers that are within the body, and there are hundreds of chakras throughout the body, but we really think about the main 7 that follow the length of our spine. And chakras are fascinating because when we translate them from Sanskrit, they mean wheel. And when we actually look at their origin and what that Sanskrit word meant at the time, we get a slightly different understanding of the chakras than we have currently. But again, that's something we'll go into more in our workshops later this month. But for our common basic understanding, we can think of the chakras as these energetic storage centers in our body. They start from our root, so at the base of our spine, and go all the way up the length of our spine to the crown of our head, or to just above our head, as you can see here. And so these physically have a connection to the nervous system. And this is actually what got me interested in spirituality and energy healing. When I first started, I was I would have been about 15 years old, and I was dealing with some pretty severe health issues that caused me to have to leave what up until that point had been my lifelong passion of being a classical ballet dancer. And through that process of going to doctors and not seeing any progress in my illness, I started to turn to traditional Chinese medicine. And through that process, I learned about the chakras. And being really interested in health and wellness, but also our anatomy, I realized that there are actual nervous system plexi. So plexi are just bundles of nerves. You can think of these as like nerve hubs stationed where each of the chakras are said to be in spiritual theory. And so this was the first time where I really saw this connection between our scientific anatomical knowledge of the body and our spiritual and intuitive wisdom of our energy and where they connected. And so this really, for me, this was the start of me going, wow, there is so much more than we know about the body and about healing and about ourselves and the world around us than what we're currently looking at. And so the chakras can be, in this way, a gateway to understanding ourselves and the world around us better. And just like they have this physical connection to our nervous system, to these plexi within our body, these branches of nerves that come off of our spine and create a lot of neurological and thus electrical input in our bodies, each chakra also has emotional and spiritual attributes. And so what this means is that each chakra kind of has this emotional state or this psychological state that really defines what we'll call a balanced chakra and an imbalanced chakra. And so when we have a balanced chakra, say a balanced root chakra, we're going to see a certain mental, emotional state in that person that will be very different than the mental, emotional state that that person would be in if their root chakra was imbalanced. And so when we look at this, when we understand that not only are the chakras connected to our energetic being, but they're also connected to our emotional and our physical being, that's when we start to understand that the chakras can make a roadmap for healing dis-ease, for healing those illnesses that are caused by a lack of energetic flow in our body, right? And this is where going back to the beginning of talking about chakras as wheels becomes so important, because what do wheels do? They spin, right? And so as these wheels are spinning, as our chakras are spinning, they are flowing energy from one chakra to the other and creating these currents of energy throughout our body and throughout our energy. And it's that movement and that flow of energy that promotes our well-being, that promotes our health, that promotes our feeling of being calm and centered and aligned and grounded and connected to the divine, and all of these feelings that we'll talk about in a little bit. And so when one chakra is imbalanced, or they aren't flowing as well, or the spin is off, or we have a life situation that's impacting that chakra and that's impacting the flow of energy, that's when we start seeing physical representations of that lack of flow in our body. And so let's break this down into a really tangible example. Okay, let's say that you are in a relationship where you feel like you cannot speak up. You feel like you aren't being heard. You feel like your words aren't valued. And so you just stop talking. What's happening there is that we have this psychological experience of, my words aren't worthy. I'm not valuable enough to speak. I'm just not going to talk. And so then we shut down our words. But what does that do? That stops the flow of energy in our throat chakra. And so the energy here is going to become stunted or imbalanced or out of alignment, which is then going to affect all of the other chakras, because that one wheel, that one gear in the clockwork of our chakras is no longer spinning correctly, is no longer flowing correctly. And if that continues for an extended period of time, or that blockage or that lack of flow becomes severe enough, it's going to start manifesting in our physical bodies. And this is where we can really start to think of illness and disease as signs of something deeper, as signposts telling us there's something that is ready to be healed. Rather than a problem that needs to be solved, we can look at it as an opportunity to expand, to grow, to do better, to heal. And so in this case, maybe you develop a thyroid disease or tonsillitis or something like this, and you have this physical manifestation of disease. And so when we're working with the chakras, what we can really say is we can look at where in the body are we experiencing these illnesses, these states of dis-ease. What chakra is that related to? What energetic situation is that related to, i.e., not feeling valuable enough to talk and not speaking up? And what can we do to restore the flow of energy in this area, which will then not only heal the disease, but also heal and relieve those emotional states that we're experiencing? And so the chakras are really this profound map of spiritual, physical, and emotional well-being that if we know how to connect listen and translate the language that they use to talk to us, to speak to us, and to tell us about what we need in order to heal, in order to be whole, in order to be well, we have a vast amount of knowledge and resources and ability to be able to heal simply by understanding and connecting with the chakras. So let's start at the very beginning, right? Because this is all fine and dandy to know that we can heal ourselves, right? By connecting with the chakras and by understanding them on the physical, psychological, and emotional levels. But until we really understand what each chakra is about and what it resonates with, that knowledge isn't going to do much for us, right? And so that's where what I said about learning how to tune into and translate the language of the chakras is going to be one of the very best gifts you can give yourself, whether you're a spiritual practitioner or just a spiritual enthusiast and a curious soul ready for healing. It's going to give you an additional layer of information that you can add into your practice or into your own personal healing. And so starting at root chakra, root chakra is what some people will call the first chakra. So if you ever hear someone refer to the first chakra, it usually starts at the root as number 1 and works up to the crown as number 7. And so root chakra or first chakra is located at the perineum. So this is the very, very base of your spine, the very bottom of your pelvis, right? So think pubic bone and down. This is where things like knees, feet, ankles, calves, thighs, lower hips, and sometimes lower back is often related to root chakra. So the very base of our physical being is in root chakra's realm. And so this is really symbolic when we think about what root chakra is all about, because root chakra is really this foundation. It's this area of safety. It's this area of the base that we create for ourselves before that skyscraper of all the other chakras can be built. And so when we think about the fact that the physical base of our body is related to root chakra, it makes sense that root chakra emotionally and energetically is connected to our feelings of safety and groundedness. In the rainbow perspective of the chakras, which is actually a modern Western idea of seeing the chakras in a rainbow pattern, which again, we'll talk about in some of our workshops this month. But in this rainbow pattern of the chakras, root chakra vibrates red. It is that first color on the rainbow spectrum here. And so it vibrates red, and its inherent right, or its desire, what fulfills root chakra, what allows it to be the fullest expression of itself, is the ability to have. And so what I want you to think about when we dive into this is a newborn baby. They are very much in a root chakra state because they are there for survival. Root chakra really is our survival chakra, our basic physiological needs chakra. Are we hungry? Are we tired? Do we have shelter? Are we safe? These feelings. And so its inherent right is to have these things, to have a solid foundation, right? So when a newborn baby is crying because they're hungry, what they want is to be fed. They want to have that nourishment, that sustenance in their body. And so in addition, we can think of how powerful our words are, right? How powerful our words can be in transmuting, but also translating the energy that we experience in our body and in the world around us. And so our words have the ability to activate our chakras. And so for root chakra, if we really think about what affirmation aligns with the energy of that chakra when it's in a state of expansion and well-being, it's really this affirmation of all my needs are met. I am safe. I am well, all my needs are met, right? So that foundation of being, we cannot pursue happiness, we cannot speak our truth, we cannot love and be connected in relationships if we aren't first fed and safe and warm, right? So then we move on to the sacral chakra. And in sacral chakra, this is really between your pubic bone and your navel. So this lower belly area. In women, this is the situation of the womb. This is also where our sexual organs are. So Sacral chakra is really related to things like passion, creativity, and sensuality. It vibrates orange in that traditional rainbow point of view, right? It vibrates orange. And when we think about sacral chakra, we're really thinking about that watery, creative energy. I always think of the tide on a beach when I think about sacral chakra, because sacral chakra is the epitome of flow. It's this ability to create and to release, to bring in new ideas and to let them go. And it also goes in the physical manifestation for life, right? Women create new life and then they birth them and release it from their body. And so sacral chakra is this really poignant area of creativity and also of manifestation. And then, of course, with our sexual organs and our sexual capacity, that sensuality is also located in sacral chakra and connected to that chakra. Its inherent right is to feel. So if we think about how root chakra's inherent right is to have, right, to have all of our needs met, sacral chakra's inherent right is to feel. And a lot of you may associate that more with heart chakra, right? We think of heart chakra as that really lovey-dovey chakra. But when we're talking about feeling, what we're talking about here is this tangible experience of life, of creation, of our ability to bring new things into the world, right? We're talking about feeling as our innate expression of creativity. So feeling as in that sensual feeling of connecting with our five senses, connecting with the world around us, and using them to bring in new ideas, new life, new manifestations, etc. And so coming back to that idea of our words being powerful, then we have this affirmation in sacral chakra of I create, I'm a sensual being and enjoy the pleasures of life. And this goes beyond just sexuality, right? This goes into, can we enjoy the experience of being a physical human being in this earth, on this plane? Because what we're really doing here is we're building up, right? We're stacking the blocks. And so in root chakra, we've taken care of our physical form. We've created this structure, those bare bones of a house that we've created in root chakra. And in sacral chakra, we get to decorate that house. We get to fill it out. We get to put in the furniture. We get to enjoy the experience of having a house. Or conversely, if root chakra is taking care of our physical body and worrying about getting its needs met and meeting those needs, then sacral chakra is about, now that my needs are met, I can enjoy the experience of having a body in all the various ways that that can be. So then moving up once again, then we have solar plexus chakra, which is our third chakra, and it's located between your belly button and the bottom of your sternum. And so this is really that like soft, fleshy space between the bottom of your ribs is really where you can think of solar plexus. And a lot of you may be familiar with solar plexus when we say things like a kick in the gut or butterflies in our stomach. These are all very much solar plexus experiences. And so on that rainbow spectrum, solar plexus vibrates yellow. It's that yellow chakra, which I love because it's so symbolic of this idea for solar plexus, which is confidence and motivation and identity. That like sunshine, bright yellow that's not afraid to see and be seen is a beautiful representation of solar plexus chakra. And so when we're in solar plexus, we're really thinking about, I know who I am and who I'm not. We're thinking about, what is my identity? What motivates me? What is my purpose in life? Who am I? These are all very much solar plexus questions. And solar plexus is that center of self-knowing, okay? So going back to that building block theory that we have here of root chakra being your physical body, then sacral chakra being the ability to enjoy your physical body, solar plexus takes us the next step up and starts looking at, how can I use myself, my time on earth, my personality, my being for fulfilling a purpose, for finding meaning, for being motivated to create change. It's that next layer, that next ability to take our consciousness, to take our lives to the next level and to look at, yes, I have a body. Yes, I can enjoy the experience of being human. And now what can I do with that experience? What changes can I create? What purposes can I fulfill? How can I find meaning in this body, in this physical plane? And so solar plexus has an inherent right of acting, right? We want to take action when we're in solar plexus. It is that fire, that sunlight within us that lights us on fire and propels us to move forward, to take action, to step up and fulfill who we are. And now when I'm talking about purpose here in solar plexus, I am not necessarily talking about our divine purpose of you have one thing that you're supposed to fulfill in this life. I'm specifically talking about this purpose of what propels you forward, what wakes you up in the morning, what gets you excited, what allows you to feel like your life has meaning, what makes life worth living for you. And those are big questions, right? Those are very large questions. And so if you're interested in me doing a workshop or a podcast more about finding your purpose and questions to ask yourself to help find that purpose and to help connect to that solar plexus energy of identity and motivation and purpose, let me know in the chat box. I would love to do something on that because I know that that idea of purpose, that idea of motivation can be really overwhelming. So when we're thinking about this inherent right to act and this motivation and this confidence that we find in solar plexus, we can look at the affirmation, the words we can use to connect with the energy of solar plexus. And that's really going to be something along the lines of, I can do anything I set my mind to. I am worthy to live as I see fit. I know who I am and who I am not. It is this very self-fulfilled, self-sustaining energy of knowing who you are, knowing what you want, and knowing that you have the ability to get there. And so if any of those feelings aren't resonating for you or feel like they're lacking in your own life, then that could be a sign that your solar plexus needs more attention. So then moving up once again, we have our heart chakra, and heart chakra is really located just behind your breastbone or your sternum. It's right in between the base of your sternum and your collarbone. So this chest-centered area. And it vibrates green on that rainbow spectrum. You'll often see heart chakra depicted as green. You also may see it depicted as pink. This is one of those chakras that when we modernized the chakras and we brought in this rainbow theory of their colors, it was one that we didn't completely agree on. And so sometimes heart chakra is green, but sometimes it's also pink. So when we're in heart chakra, we're really thinking about relationships. How do you interact with the world? How do you connect to yourself, to the people around you, to the world around you? And so relationships in the heart chakra really aren't limited to romantic relationships, friendships, family relationships. These are really an all-encompassing idea of anytime you connect with an aspect of the world around you, whether it's a person, whether it's an emotion, whether it's a thought, whether it's a thing, anytime you're interacting with something, what is that interaction like? What is the connection that you have to that? What is your ability to open your heart and show up and have a connection to something beyond yourself? Okay, so in that block building theory, in solar plexus, we were learning about how to use ourselves to propel ourselves into our meaning and into our purpose. And then we're taking it even further. We're expanding even more. And we're looking at heart chakra and saying, how can I connect and expand beyond myself? How can I connect and expand to things that are outside of myself and connect to the world around me? And so heart chakra's inherent right is to love. And this is where I love to bring in this concept, pun intended, of human love versus soul love. And if you listened to our self-love and Reiki podcast, you'll know a little bit about this. If you haven't listened to that podcast, I highly recommend doing so. I go into this idea of human love versus soul love a lot deeper. But when we talk about love in heart chakra, we're not talking about human level love. And what I mean by human level love is this need that we feel for people, or this love that we often see represented on social media or in celebrity relationships of we love each other and then eventually we may get divorced, we may break up, the friendship may end. It's conditional, even if it doesn't seem conditional, right? It's a conditional kind of love. What I'm talking about is soul love, this unconditional love that isn't an action of I'm loving you. It's an experience of I am love for you, or I am love and I witness you also in love. It is this experience of the original innate nature of our souls being able to be expanded and shared. And this is why when we talk about having an open heart, this is where that idea comes from, because if our heart chakra is closed down, if things are not flowing here, we are able to choose to keep that innate love, to keep that unconditional love and core truth of who we are hidden and tucked away and safe, right? But we also have this choice to open up our heart and allow that connection, allow that unconditional love to pour forth. And that's really what we're talking about when we talk about heart chakra love, is this innate desire, this innate ability to connect with the world around us on a deep, deep level. And so heart chakra's affirmation, of course, is I am loving and lovable, because it is, again, that idea of bringing in that feeling of worthiness from solar plexus, and also that feeling of safety from root chakra, so that we then know that we are worthy and safe enough to open our hearts and allow ourselves to love and be loved, to see and be seen, to connect and be connected with. And so then moving up, once again, we have our throat chakra, which is, of course, right here in our throat, located between the collarbones and the ears. It vibrates blue in that rainbow theory, a very nice light blue. And this is where we're really thinking about communication, right? Throat chakra is our hub of communication. It is where we both learn to listen and speak. And so a lot of times when we think of throat chakra, we think about speaking our truth. We think about sharing who we are, using our words authentically, understanding that words have power. But often this idea of listening and tuning in the throat chakra gets kind of pushed to the background, but it is just as important. I was having a conversation with Christine recently, and she, like I mentioned at the beginning of this, she has lost her voice. And we were talking about, when we're looking at the chakras, what does that look like? And I said, well, I think the universe is telling you to rest, because she is having this cold. And she said to me, I think the universe is telling me to listen, because her voice was gone and she's not able to talk. And so what is it that the universe is trying to get her to listen to? And again, these are those kinds of connections that when we know how to connect with and decipher the chakras, our physical diseases and even our mental diseases are no longer these life sentences or these really difficult things that we just have to get through like a cold, but they become signs and symptoms of what is the universe trying to tell me? What is it that I need that I'm not fulfilling right now? What can I bring more of into my life so that my energy is flowing? So when we think about throat chakra is really this hub of expression. Its inherent right is to express, right? To speak our truth, but also to express the connection that we feel with people in heart chakra through our ability to listen, right? And so that's really where that next building block comes in of, yes, in throat chakra, we're speaking our truth. We're learning that our words have value. We're learning that our words have power, but we're also learning that our listening ability is a direct manifestation and communication of our ability to connect with others through our heart chakra. And so our throat chakra can be an expression of our heart chakra. Its affirmation is, I express my truth and my purpose, and I listen compassionately. And this is also a very important distinction here. If you listened to last week's podcast on agency and autonomy in your Reiki practice, we talk about a little bit in there the difference between compassion and empathy. We also talk about it on our blog post, Empathy and Autonomy in Your Reiki Practices. So if you haven't read that, I highly recommend checking it out. But when we are listening with empathy, what we're doing is we are listening for circumstances that we can relate to, that we have had, that emotions that we also feel. And so the analogy I use for this, or the metaphor I use for this, is that we kind of get down in the mud with that person, right? If someone's in the mud and we are listening with empathy, we're going to sit down in the mud with them and relate on the same level of, yes, I know exactly how that feels. I'm feeling it right now. I'm there with you. Versus when we listen with compassion, what we're doing is rather than getting down in the mud with that person, we're standing on the outside of the mud pile and extending a hand and saying, yes, I see you and I hear you and I understand. And also, I'm not going to let you stay stuck. I'm here to help and to support you. And so again, it's bringing in that love for the person from heart chakra and that understanding that they are meant for greater things, that they are meant for the fullest expression of life. And so when we listen with compassion, we're also presenting an opportunity to connect with someone and to lift each other up. And so when we're talking about throat chakra, we're not talking about listening in empathy, but rather listening in compassion. So moving up once more, we have our third eye chakra. And I love talking about third eye because it's one of those things where I think anybody you talk to, whether they're in the spiritual community or not, is probably familiar with third eye chakra, right? We have so much information across religions and spiritual theories and new age beliefs and all of these things that really talk about our third eye. And so it's fun to have discussions about third eye and really look at in all of this information that we have, especially with the fascination that pop culture kind of has with third eye chakra. In all of this, what is true? What really comes back to those original ideas and the original intention of third eye chakra? And so when we're thinking about third eye, we do have that location correct, right? It's right in the middle of your forehead between your eyebrows. Traditionally, in the rainbow perspective, it vibrates indigo, so this kind of bluey purple color. And its realm is really this realm of perception and intuition, right? So when we think about clairvoyance or clairsentience or the clair gifts, our spiritual gifts, these really reside in third eye chakra. Our intuition, our ability to perceive beyond ourselves is also connected with our third eye. And then when we talk about this idea of perception, it's this difference between perceiving the divine and connecting with the divine, which we'll talk about in a minute. Perceiving the divine really comes from our third eye, right? If we think about our physical eyes are for our sense of seeing the physical world around us. And so our third eye or our spiritual eye is really here for seeing, quote unquote, the spiritual world around us. So we're perceiving spirituality. Whereas in crown chakra, which we'll talk about in a second, we are becoming spirituality. We are embodying that divine nature. And so when we're talking about third eye, it really is this ability to take everything that we've learned up to this point from root to throat, and then say, now that we have this understanding with and connection to the physical world around us, what is happening beyond? What is the next evolution? What is the spiritual realm that's underlying all of these physical experiences that I'm having? And so the inherent right of the third eye chakra is to see things in a new light. And that's see, quote unquote, right? Because it's not physically seeing with our physical eyebrows, but it's using our sixth sense of intuition, our ability to spiritually see the things around us in a new light, to see what's happening underneath that base layer of physicality, to see the spirituality that underlies all things. And so its affirmation is I follow my inner guidance. When we are connected to that intuition, when we have the ability to perceive things beyond the physical, right? When we're connected with this spiritual nature, then we have this inner GPS that we can use to guide us through life instead of having to mentally struggle and strive for knowing what we need to do and when we need to do it and how much money we need to make and how many clients we need to have and all of these monkey mind type things. We can really instead tune into our intuition, tune into that truth with a capital T that underlies all things and allow that intuition, allow our inner guidance to guide us. But that is very much a third eye chakra experience. And so then finally, the last of our seven chakras, or our seventh chakra, is our crown chakra, and it's hovering just above the top of the head here. right? And it vibrates violet, but you might also see it depicted in white or in gold. Just like heart chakra, it was one of those where when we brought in this rainbow perception of the chakras, we didn't really agree on what color crown chakra was. So in a traditional rainbow, of course, it would be violet, but you'll also see crown chakra depicted in white or in gold. And so this is where we start to think about the big picture, right? Just like I was saying a second ago, crown chakra is where we start to become, to embody that divinity, that spirituality. And so while we're kind of perceiving it from a third eye perspective, from a bird's eye view in third eye chakra, we are then becoming it in crown chakra. And so you can think of crown chakra as kind of our center of divinity, the space where we as human beings connect with the greater we of us as spiritual beings, where that divinity, that universe, that spirit, that source, whatever you term it, starts to come into our physical body. And in Reiki practices, this is often where Reiki is depicted as coming into our physical vessel, as it comes in through crown chakra, because crown chakra is that chakra that is closest to the divine, that is closest to our spiritual nature. And so when we're thinking crown chakra, we have this connection to an embodiment of divinity and of spirituality. But in our physical lives, in our human lives, crown chakra allows us to see the big picture. So just like root chakra is really nitty gritty of have I eaten, have I slept, am I warm, am I safe? Crown chakra is then that big picture vision of overall, how is my life? Overall, where am I? What is the deeper, bigger, broader meaning of all of this? This is really what I like to call our existential chakra, okay? Its inherent right is to know, and not just know as in you've read it in a textbook and now you understand, but to know on a soul level, to have that deep understanding of wisdom. Okay, crown chakra is that experience of knowing in wisdom. Its affirmation is I am one with everything. So again, this is our connection to our divine nature as pure energy, as pure love, as pure light, our connection to the all that isness of the beyond, right? So again, crown chakra really gets us into those big picture ideas, these existential ideas where we can start going into things like philosophy and enlightenment and all of these things. But it's really just important to understand that crown chakra is where we expand beyond our human self to embody and connect with and know that spiritual divine experience of being a human being. So that was a lot of information, right? In just a little short amount of time. And so this is, again, like I said, just the tip of the iceberg. Our chakras are extraordinary in their ability to give us insight into ourselves, into our healing, into our energy, into who we are, why we are, how we interact with the world. There is so much that we can learn from our chakras. And so that's why we are so excited to dive into our month of chakras this month, because now that we have this really firm foundation of knowing these basics of root as our foundation, sacral as our center of creativity and sensuality, solar plexus as our center of motivation, confidence, and purpose, heart chakra as our center of connection and love and compassion, throat chakra as our space of connection, expression, communication, and listening, third eye as our space of intuition and perception, and crown chakra as our space of knowing and spirituality. Now that we have this base, now that we have this foundation, you might say, or our root chakra of understanding of our chakras, now we can start building and we can look at things like the psychology of the chakras and what happens in our mental and emotional being when our chakras are out of alignment, or what do our chakras have to teach us about our mental health and about our psychology and about how we perceive the world. So if you're interested in diving deeper into that topic, be sure to join me on June 14th at 9 a.m. Mountain Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time for our Psychology of Chakras coffee conversation that will be live on YouTube. Then we're going to also dive into things like the myths of the chakras, how the chakras have changed as we stepped into the modern perception of them versus the origins of the chakras. We're going to look at what are the manifestations of misalignment or imbalance in the chakras? What does that look like on a mental and physical level? And what can we do to bring the chakras back into balance? So if you're interested in learning more about that, be sure to join us for our 2-part workshop happening on June 12th is part 1, June 19th is part 2. Both workshop nights will be happening at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And that Heal and Activate Your Chakras workshop is going to go into everything that I just talked about and more. It's going to be a really deep dive into the chakras. Then later in the month, on what I believe is the last Monday of the month, we have a chakra-based community Reiki circle. So this will be when you are guided through a Reiki healing session for each of your chakras. That will be live in the Reiki Cafe Community Facebook group. And then, of course, be on the lookout throughout for some guest interviews that we're going to be doing around the chakras and how they connect to your Reiki practice, as well as other tips, tricks, and tidbits in the groups on Facebook, on the podcast, on YouTube, all over everywhere as we really dive into the chakras. If you're interested in really going the extra mile, getting all of the knowledge that we have to give you, we do have our self-paced course, Chakra Flow. And this course is based on the same chakra backbone that we give to all of the students in our signature programs. So it has deep dives into the chakras, activating actions to help you balance them, meditations to help you understand them more and come into your own connection with your own chakras, and so much more. They've also got yoga practices for the chakras and essential oils for the chakras and all kinds of bonus content that not even our signature program students get access to. So if you're interested in taking a deep dive with us this month for your own month of chakras, be sure to check out Chakra Flow. And then if you're interested in learning about how our chakras can form the foundation of our practice and what tools we can use to then bring the chakras to life through things like shamanic Reiki or coaching, so that we can create a holistic practice and really support our clients and ourselves on all levels, then reach out to us about our shamanic Reiki practitioner training and our Reiki coaching programs. We'll be launching the next round of the shamanic Reiki practitioner training, which takes shamanic Reiki through the lens of the chakras and pulls them together to create a really holistic, spiritual, and transformational practice. We'll be launching that again in August. So be sure to be on the lookout for that. We have, as you just heard, so many opportunities coming for you this month and in the future to connect with the chakras. So if you have questions, if you have thoughts, if there's something that you really want to know about the chakras or something you would love to hear us talk about on the podcast, send me a message, leave us a comment, send us an email, post in the Reiki Cafe Community Facebook group. We really want to make sure that this month of chakras is as supportive and informative and connecting for you as it is for us. And so please, if you have questions or topic requests or shares or experiences, anything like that, we would love to hear from you. And in the meantime, thank you all so very much for sticking with me through all of this, for diving into this introduction to the chakras. I would love to know what questions we have, what aha moments we've had through all of this. So like I said, send me a message or an email, or let's hop on a call and discuss. Let's hop on a 10-minute call and talk about the chakras and your aha moments. And until then, let me know in the chat. For those of you who have stayed with me through this whole thing, let me know in the chat, what questions do you have? Because this was quite a bit of information, and I know it's early in the morning for me at least. So let me know, what questions do you have? What aha moments have you had today? Oh, you're welcome, Rose. Rose said, thank you for sharing. Hopefully this was helpful. And like I said, gave you that basic introduction to the chakras. I'm so excited to be diving even deeper later this month. Beautiful. Well, it doesn't look like we have any questions, which is fantastic. That means that I've done my job well today. But if you think of questions later on, please just reach out. And I hope you enjoyed this introduction to the chakras. Let me know your top takeaways. Let me know what you're ready for, what you're ready to learn about this month. And I'll see you soon in the Reiki Cafe Community Facebook group. Thank you so, so much for joining with us today, for committing to your healing and to yourself. And we'll see you soon.